Alright, here's passenger side fully disassembled. The strut's off. It's ready to get sandblasted and cleaned up before shipping off to RSR to be modified for the Bilstein insert and coilover conversion. Over here on the driver's side, wheels off. Nothing's been disassembled yet. The first thing to do is remove the caliper. There are two 19mm bolts, one here and one here. The next step is removing the wheel bearing. To take the dust cap off, I use two hammers. Use a regular framer's hammer, like so, and then I hit the bottom of the head of the hammer right here with another hammer, and I just slowly work my way around the perimeter as I do that to get the cap off. Once the cap's off, remove the wheel bearing retainer, and then you can slide the whole assembly off the spindle. After that's done, remove your tie rod end, dust shield, and disconnect the brake line. Then the last piece is the ball joint right back there. Oh, and also up top is one bolt holding the strut in place. I'll walk through this as I do each step. Driver's side strut removed. The ball joint on this side was stuck, and I had to beat pretty hard to get it out. As you can see, it's totally destroyed. These needed to be replaced anyhow. Even if they didn't need to be replaced, they'd get replaced with something better. I just want to point out though, you can notice right here, the pickle fork digging into the control arm. That will have to get repaired with the welder. What I wound up having to do to get this side off, I wish I would have known because it would have made the other side easier as well, is I have my two pickle forks here. If you notice, this one, I cut this top section off. The shape of the control arm is such that these pickle forks, when they slide in, they come into contact with the control arm and can't go any further, and you wound up just beating the crap out of the control arm. Removing that first section allows it to go in far enough to where it can pop the ball joint loose before it comes into contact with the control arm, if you're using two at a time. Alright, I've shipped the strut housings off to RSR to have the spindles raised. Now I'm going to start tearing down this front end. The goal is to drop the cross member, the control arms, pull out the fuel tank, then start looking for areas where the undercoating has failed, clean it up, redo those areas with undercoating, clean out the wheel wells very nicely, and repaint it. Just going to do a flat black, satin black, something like that. Then maybe rebuild the steering rack or just repack the grease in it. Not sure how far we're going to get in that. Try not to get bogged down in making everything perfect, but instead, leave good enough alone. So first thing, I'm going to drop this fuel tank. Just finished draining the fuel from the gas tank, and there's quite a bit of rust coming out in the fuel, so this gas tank is going to need to get opened up. It's not too bad because I'm pretty unhappy with the pickup in this fuel tank. The other day I drove this until it stranded me and I was on empty. I had to add 2 gallons from a gas can, but just now when I was draining it, I pulled 5 gallons out of it. So this tank has 3 extra gallons of gas in it that you can't ever use. So when I open it up to clean it, I'll try to modify the collector, and maybe I'll do something a little bit like Garage Time did. I finished dropping the fuel tank. It's very easy to do. There are 3 clamps, one here, here, third one there, and then a seal. So remove the clamps, they're all accessible from the top, and then put a jack underneath with a large block of wood and very gently jack up, and it'll just come loose. Overall, the tank is, it's not an awful shape, but I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with it. There is some rust inside. It's not too bad, but it's enough where really any amount I probably need to do something about. I'd like to change the swirl pot design. It seems like the tank needs around 3 or 4 gallons of gas to be able to pick up anything. So I'd like to fix that, make it a little more efficient. I've been just started researching online, looking at what other people are doing. Not much out there for these cars. Garage Time has a pretty good solution. I'll probably do something similar to what he's doing, except I'm not going to do an in-tank fuel pump. I'm just going to replace the factory one with a Bosch 044. Now that the fuel tank's out, next step is dropping these control arms, the cross member, and the sway bar. It should be pretty easy to do. It doesn't look like there's much to it. Everything's out of the way. I'll check back in once I get that done. Control arms and sway bar removed. Taking the bolts out was pretty easy with the impact. Everything's pretty corroded, but it's 3 bolts on the front bracket, then 1 on the back, and there's a cap to remove, and then there's an adjustment screw or bolt that needs to be removed, and then just using a pry bar gently pop it forward and it'll come out. The sway bar kind of holds it in place, and so as you take the first one off, you pull it forward while backing the sway bar off, and you'll get it out pretty easily. They're not too bad. I still need to get the cross member out, so that's my next task. But if any of you guys are 911 SC owners, these welds are all pretty awful looking. I've never looked inside one of these before, so I don't know what they're supposed to look like, but that doesn't look like anything else on the car. So if you guys know if that is not factory, please let me know what you think. I don't see any signs of this car ever being wrecked, but those welds just kind of give me pause. Alright, got the cross member out, pulled off the front bumper also. Trying to back up and get a little bit better view. There we go. The front bumper cover is surprisingly heavy, but everything comes off very, very easily. The cross member was kind of stuck in place here. It slips up over, not sure the best way to describe it, but it's a portion of the body that's proud to the car, and this was kind of seized in place from all the years, so it took a little convincing with the hammer to come down, but wasn't too bad. So next step, gonna take off a few little odd pieces here and there. This. The long-term plan for this car is to backdate it. I think I might go ahead and just backdate the front while I'm in here doing all of this, and then work my way to the back. The goal is to try to keep this car on the road while I'm doing the, I don't want to call it restoration because it isn't, it's just maintenance and upgrades, modifications. So I'm trying to minimize the downtime because I do want to enjoy driving this thing and take take advantage of the insurance that I'm having to pay each month for it. So here it is. Need to get that cleaned out there. Also, if anybody has any suggestions on how to rebuild the steering rack or repack it with grease, let me know. There's nothing in the Bentley manual about that. From what I've read online is that they don't ever need to be rebuilt, but I have a suspicion after 37 or 38 years that rack is probably kind of tired and could use some new grease in it. So leave it in the comments. Alright, the driver's side bumper shock has been removed, along with the fuel overflow tank and the water and headlight washer fluid. Now I'm removing the fenders. First thing you do is you take out the headlights. So I'll check back in once these are off. Alright, moving along, taking off the passenger side fender. Just wanted to point out a couple things. So this is a one owner car. To my knowledge, it's never been wrecked, but I'm starting to think it may have had some previous damage. So again, this area here, these welds along this piece, and the fitment of it in general. Let's see, you can see there's a pretty big gap all along it. That's been suspicious since I first noticed it. And then also, after taking off the front bumper, clearly there's been an impact right here. But over here, everything is totally straight. No issues. There is some red here, which looks like, I don't know if it's filler or something from a body shop, but it's also on this side. So I don't know what to think about that. And just now, while I'm taking off the passenger side fender, there should be 6 bolts. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And up here, there should be a number 6. Sorry about the lighting. You can barely see it hiding behind that pipe. There's no bolt there. Also, coming around over here, there should be 2 up here. You can see there's 1 there, and then kind of back around the corner, back in here, the second bolt's missing. So this fender's been off before, and whoever took it off didn't put it all the way on, or didn't put all the hardware back on with it. Passenger side fender removed and stripped down just about as far as it's gonna go. I'll probably take a few more things off as I'm cleaning it up. This bracket, take that off, sandblast it. The oil lines, I'll probably just disconnect, and they're held on here, and somebody halfway held it on there. Probably just pull those back and then clean up as best I can. The thought is any undercoating that's failing, remove. I'll be seam welding or stitch welding, should I say, the front of this. So anywhere that the undercoating is ruined from that, fix. Also, I got some strut mounts from Garage Time, and so I'll be welding those in here and then also on that side, obviously. And that will require repairing some undercoating. Overall, there's actually not a lot of undercoating on this, and some spots are pretty thin. So I'm gonna clean it up as good as I can and see how much work it is to get it cleaned up. I'm gonna try going after it with a wire wheel on the good old death wheel and see what I can do.
the oil cooler lines going up to the trombone. It looks like at some point this corner must have been damaged, and they just replaced it with this fitting and this hose. So I want to fix that. What I was thinking I could do is using some of this. I've got this nice corner here, which I could graft in here, so from here to there, and I think that would work really well. And then using the existing fittings, I'll go down to a front mount oil cooler. But then there's also back here where, let's see, so right here, this jack mount is going to be deleted. I'd like this to just go straight across. I don't know if it's worth the amount of effort it's going to take to do that. I believe these lines are brass. So I need to figure out what the best way to do this will be. I can TIG weld it if I need to, but from the 5 seconds of Google searching I did, TIG welding brass isn't very easy, it sounds like, and I'm not very good at TIG welding, so that's not a formula for success. One other thing, taking off the fender requires pulling off the side skirt, and found a little bit of cancer right here. So I think it's just this section here I'll be fixing. Not too big of a deal. That's easy enough. Alright, finished taking off the driver's side fender. So this side, the fender's never been removed. The passenger side, I've noticed previously I said I thought that there had been some sort of wreck. On the passenger side, the underside of the fender, there was no undercoating. On the driver's side, the underside of the fender had the factory undercoating. So definitely a wreck. Because this fender had never been off before, they glue these things on really, really well. So what I wound up doing is right along here, I just wedged a putty knife down all the way along this edge, and then I slowly pried it back. And you're gonna have to, if it's really stuck on there, you're gonna have to put a pry bar in there and then just very, very gently move it along the edge to widen that gap out. And then this side is gonna be stuck in place. If you can remove your air conditioning, some sort of filter or cleaner for the gas that's in the system, if you can remove that, it'll make pulling the fender off easier because there'll be more room for it to wiggle here. Mine I couldn't get off, so it actually wound up bending the bracket just a little bit when it eventually did come off. But this side is pretty bad. I've already found a few places that have rust that will need sheet metal work. Here, I suspect I'll find some more. This whole corner here probably is going to have to get a fair bit replaced. Right here, that's pretty eaten up. It's probably going to be worse once I strip everything back. Through here, looks pretty good. There's a little bit right there, but that'll be fine. So overall, I think it's okay. It will need some sheet metal work though, which is okay. I mean, I was hoping I could kind of come in here and just strip back the undercoating around the edges where it was starting to fail, redo it, repaint everything to be one color, upgrade the suspension and put it back together. I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, along the front here, great shape, just needs a little bit of work to get it back to where it needs to be. This side, I'm going to have to strip this whole side down to bare metal and just fix everything that needs to be fixed, give this car another 40 years of life. So All right, well, next step, now that I'm done stripping everything down, is to start the cleanup process. So I'll probably try to end this video and stitch together. Sorry, I'm not able to speak today. I've got a pretty bad cold, and I don't know, been stuck in the house with this coronavirus scare, and maybe I'm losing my mind a little bit. But as I was saying, I'll in this video stitch together all the little sections that I've done and try to get it uploaded to YouTube. Anyone that's stuck with me this far, I appreciate it. I know these are pretty low quality videos, but just trying to share a little bit of my time in the garage with some other people and get some more content on YouTube about these 911 SCs. There's not enough out there. Alright guys, I'll see you on the next video.